Chapter 12, verse 2. It says, "Do not be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind, that you may prove what is the good and acceptable and perfect will of God." You know, Aubrey mentioned that I was once a missionary to Panama. And in Panama, we worked with the U.S. military down there. And we pastored a church on one of the military bases. And I remember driving in Panama one day, and I don't know how many of you have ever driven overseas. They don't follow the same rules we follow. You know, lanes are not lanes and everything. And I was driving, I had a little Mitsubishi Lancer, a red Lancer, that my sister helped us get. And so I'm driving, and some nice person cut me off, you know. And, you know, immediately, not so good thoughts flooded my head. And I know we've all been there. Don't judge. You know, anger, just these angry thoughts flooded in. I remember, and it was 2 years after my dad passed away of a heart attack. So I remember the feeling I had. It was a dramatic time, you know. We remember these dramatic experiences. And I got so angry, and I was screaming, and I was yelling, and, you know, hitting the gas, and tailgating, and I don't even know what got into me, because that's not my personality. And I remember I was starting to, like, hyperventilate. And I thought to myself, you know what? I could die here. I could have a heart attack because, of course, since my dad passed away of a heart attack just recently, that was something on your mind. You know, when a loved one dies of a sickness, you kind of almost develop those psychosomatically. You develop those symptoms. You know, and I just remember that day that it was to the point that I had to catch myself and go, what am I doing with myself? You know, but I allowed that thought to come into me, that angry thought. And instead of dispelling it, I embraced it. And that thought moved into my words. I started, you know, and by the way, I had a little clergy sticker on my car. And, thankfully, I don't believe anybody that knew me was around. So, cannot remember what I was saying, but I'm sure it was not good things. And, you know, and those thoughts became words, and that my words became the actions I was embracing of you know, getting close to his bumper and everything else. And, you know, and over time, and this was kind of a culminating time for me, that I realized, you know, that wasn't the first time that happened. And I realized, you know what, this is kind of a pattern for me. This is kind of the way I act if somebody cuts me off. And I know we've all been on the other side of this, where we've cut somebody off in traffic, or we're driving down the road and all of a sudden you see your exit over there and it's like, oh my, you know, and do the little cut across, or you're late for an appointment and you know you're being a little rude on the highway. So you don't know what that person was going through. But I allowed those angry thoughts. You know, your thoughts become your words become your actions, and your actions become who you are. You know, so you know, Paul writing to the Romans here says, don't be conformed to the world, or don't be conformed to the pattern of society. Don't be conformed to the way this, you know, the normal, humankind act. But be transformed. Well, how? By the renewing of your mind. So what does the mind do? The mind thinks. So what he's saying here is that we are to be changed by changing the way we think. Amen. You know, I had an opportunity there when those thoughts of anger came into me to say, you know what, I'm not going to embrace that. I'm not going to embrace those angry thoughts. I'm going to allow myself to change those thoughts. That's the natural reaction. You know, we live in this human body, and sometimes our natural reaction isn't really what we're supposed to do. isn't the way we're supposed to act. So my natural reaction there was to get angry. My natural reaction there was to, have this explosion in my car. If I had a, little button that I could have pressed and blew up his car, I probably would. Thank God we don't have those. But that was my natural reaction. That's what I wanted to do. Because I embraced those thoughts. And I remember from that moment on, I'm a very courteous driver now. If somebody cuts me off, more power to them. Because I decided in that moment that I am going to be transformed by changing the way I think in that specific situation. And ever since then, I've had lots of temptations, and I've failed a couple of times. I've had lots of moments that I could embrace those angry thoughts and allow it to influence my words and influence my actions and kind of create this person. But I chose to allow that transformation to take place inside me by changing the way you think.
Amen.
So in the New Living Translation here, it says, don't copy the behavior and customs of this world, but let God transform you into a new person by changing the way you think. Our thoughts are very, very important. And there is that transformation that takes place. And it begins with our thoughts. He didn't say, be transformed by changing the way you act, or be transformed by changing the way what you say. He said, be transformed by changing the way you think. Because that is the root of our words. Before we say something, 9 times out of 10, we think about it. Sometimes we say things without thinking, but that's because we've allowed that to become a pattern in our life. So it could, sometimes we could go straight from immediately to action, or immediately to words, or we don't have to, it's like we don't do that little process, because it's become a part of who we are. So flip over with me to 1 Peter. 1 Peter chapter 3. But keep your fingers in Romans 12, because we're going to keep going back and forth there, because Paul can